A young man with a nose ring and long hair is walking to an ATM. It's just before midnight, and he has no idea he's being followed. It's an NYPD detective on his trail, and something about this young man just doesn't look right. Because his long black hair appears to be a cheap wig. And so the detective follows him into the ATM lobby, pretending to make a transaction so as to not raise suspicion. But at the corner of his eye, he watches the young man insert a card, withdraws a few hundreds, pockets the money, and then pulls out another card, and another, and another, and another. The detective isn't exactly sure what crime is being committed, but he knows something is wrong. So he walks up to the young man, simply asks,
"What's your name?"
When he's 12 years old, Albert buys his first PC, saved up money doing chores around the house.
Malware detected.
So he calls to get his computer fixed, and when watching the technician squash the bug, he becomes curious, amazed at the inner workings of the device. And one specific question arises in his mind. What would one have to gain from implementing a virus? Within 2 years, Albert Gonzalez will become a black hat hacker.
Black hat hackers are defined by their propensity for malicious intent. Techniques include the release of malware that destroys files, demands ransom, or steals passwords and other sensitive information. At the time of this video, the United States Federal Bureau for Investigation has listed 112 of their most wanted black hats for the public to see.
Is his name. And he's now leading a group of fellow black hat hackers through a series of internet heists. Not only defacing websites just to prove they can, but also taking spoils for themselves. They're modern-day pirates.
We was in the heights, OG tried to sell me Cartiers. With my crown, we some kings like a Carters.
Gonzalez is particularly fond of buying clothes, CDs, using stolen credit cards, all throughout high school.
In the late 1970s, inflation had emerged as the most serious problem facing America. The biggest problem.
He then drops out of the education system entirely his freshman year of college, and he's now continuously hacking day and night into internet providers, then stealing the login and passwords of specifically company executives, acquiring classified information about their networks.
Yeah, can you describe what it was like working with him?
Gonzalez is considered to be highly intelligent, perceptive. They say he's great at reading people, learning vulnerabilities, and deceiving them. Social engineering. So it's at this ATM incident that Gonzalez is arrested, and now he's in custody. And while there, he confesses to specifically what he was doing. He programmed a stack of blank debit cards, inserted them, withdrew the money. Word of the incident then makes its way to New York, New Jersey. And specifically in New Jersey, it makes its way to the Electronic Crimes Task Force. And so rather than immediately prosecute him, they offer a choice. Gonzalez is now working as an informant to help combat cybercrime. And the Secret Service pays for his housing, even helps him get through the intense withdrawals he's experiencing from years of drug addiction. And now the real work begins. The task force wants to take down the Shadow Crew, who he was working with earlier, in an underground black market cybercrime marketplace. This is basically where anonymous hackers share information and tips. And this is also where Gonzalez happens to be most famous. In collaboration with the Justice Department and the Secret Service, Operation Firewall is a go. Soup aids these special agents in going undercover, track down users from all over the world. Still using his hacking alias, Soup Nazi, Gonzalez continues to rise in the ranks of the Shadow Crew, tricking his fellow Black Hats into communicating through a specialized VPN. And before long, the service is able to transfer the entire Shadow Crew website to their servers. And now, the big stain is happening. "28 Shadow Crew hackers across 8 states and 6 countries are tracked and arrested. The most successful cybercrime takedown of the time. In the eyes of the Secret Service, Gonzalez is a vigilante turned hero. They've all grown to like him, affectionately calling him by his first name, Albert, or just Soup. They know him to be a kind and respectful and always helpful young man. Little do they know that inside his head, a war is raging on. When returning to his Miami home after a day with the Secret Service, he logs into his computer and begins selling databases of stolen card information to his hackers. So he's living a dual life. He's been hired by the Secret Service to track these guys down, and then on the flip side, Gonzalez covers his tracks and keeps the profits he makes off the dumps. At this point, he's generated millions of dollars in profits, and he spares no expense. But it doesn't stop there. Gonzalez has taken a particular interest in war driving. This is where hackers hide out in vans in parking lots outside of big box stores. Armed with powerful radio antennas, hackers burrow through the weak Wi-Fi networks to steal the information of customers connected. The major target Gonzalez picks is TJX corporations, the conglomerate to smaller companies. And at this point, he's bleeding them dry. He even developed a sniffer program to avoid downloading data from cards that are expired. Reduces the error count substantially. For the next 2 years, Gonzalez and his followers have gained access to over 45 million card accounts. And the whole time, he's still informing for the Secret Service. But then, right before... Just weeks before the new year, the United States Justice Department and the Attorney's Office receive a series of frantic phone calls.
Incoming call from
TJX Corporations.
After detecting a rapidly growing number of stolen cards being used at their stores, they finally checked the servers in Massachusetts. Found traces of hacked data that point to the largest theft of credit card numbers in United States history. And no one knows who's behind it. Meanwhile, Gonzalez tries quitting his work as an informant, but they won't let him go that easy. They begin tailing him, and he knows he's being followed, but he's certain he's covered his tracks. Nothing to worry about. But then comes July 2007, when the world for him begins crumbling. And this crumbling world comes from an underground agent working out of San Diego. This guy spent months tailing the infamous Ukrainian hacker by buying card dumps from him in mass. The agent then travels all the way to Ukraine to meet with this guy, where he secretly copies one of the hacker's hard drives. Meanwhile, back in the US, the service is scouring the hard drives, where they find this guy has kept meticulous records of every internet communication that he's had, including chat logs. And in one of these chat logs, they managed to find the anonymous user that has been providing with the stolen credit card numbers. At first, they don't know who this user is. His name is anonymous, it's blocked out, but they do know that they also asked to help acquire a fake passport for another associate. So then they eventually find a file containing a picture. They're stupefied to learn that he's just one of the many Shadow Crew members who've been working directly with Soup Nazi this whole time. And this guy had kept information on Soup in case it could later be used as leverage. At the National Hotel in Miami Beach, alongside $22,000 in cash and a singular laptop, the soup is beginning to spill.
One of tonight's biggest newsmakers can't be here with us. He is under lock and key at a detention center in New York, probably without a computer in his cell. Albert Gonzalez is awaiting trial on allegations he orchestrated the largest data breach in history.
The amount of people personally victimized by his thefts exceeds the population of several major cities and even some states.
Security experts call the TJX breach the ultimate wake-up call for corporations like TJX, who up until now downplayed such a wireless threat.
He's sentenced to 20 years in prison. As he's being led away from the courtroom, the last thing he says to the jury,
This is the story of something big. The story of a weapon so destructive, it can erase generations of history in the blink of an eye.
The atomic bomb. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen.
To understand the full scope of nuclear warfare, I need to take you back to the very start.